And we should be live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome back. We are the Ramblers, as per usual. I am your host with the most, Mr. Garrett M. La Laguna. The M this week stands for malarkey. Don't give me none of that.
I'm pretty sure you used that before.
You know what? You're full of malarkey. Yeah, how you like that? Don't give me none. Don't give me none.
Okay.
Okay. So my co-host with the most, as usual, is Mr. Tony S. Burgess.
That stands for Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Because the Packers are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. With who at quarterback?
J-Love, baby.
Okay. Well, we will talk about that momentarily. But as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we are here talking your NFC North preview. We're talking about the people that really matter in this division and whatnot. So I think we should just get right into it, but a little bit of news right before we get into this. Cam Akers tore his Achilles this morning or last night or something. Tore his Achilles, out for the season. I know it's not NFC North related, but it's still big.
It's still a big deal. I mean, he was the leading rusher for the Rams last year.
And he was projected to be a huge contributor this year.
Yeah. Well,
so
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what that does to the draft stock of the Rams when we get to them in our weekly series in, I think like 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. We'll get to it eventually. But as for now, we're talking about the NFC North. Mm-hmm. We're talking about this division here with a couple of really good teams in it and a couple of really bad teams in it. We're going to start off with our division winners, though, last year.
Dat?
That is the Green Bay Packers, I guess, as it were.
You got that right.
So, we'll see if they can do it this year. Doesn't look so good right now.
It looks great.
But, why don't you, as the resident Packers fan, tell us a little bit about the situation going on with Aaron Rodgers.
There is no situation. The Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl this year.
It's all a giant love fest.
And all is well in the world. All is well in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. No, I don't know. It's been a very big question mark this entire offseason. Mm-hmm. There's been not much news on it, except for the fact that there is a rift and there is an issue going on, but we don't know what the issue is. The Packers have been quiet. Rodgers has been quiet. There just hasn't been much substance behind the story, except just the fact that there's something going on.
Yeah. Tell them what you just told me.
Yeah, and then, it was reported by Adam Schefter today that the Packers did offer Rodgers a 2-year extension to his current contract that would have made him the highest paid player in the NFL, and he declined. So it's obviously not about money.
Nope.
But
about management.
It goes back and forth. I have no idea what's going to happen here. Training camp starts next week. My dad texted me yesterday, and he's like, I just heard a report that Rodgers just had a professional cleaning crew to go out to his house to clean it this week. So that must mean he's coming back because he's not selling the house. And then also he renewed his membership at the country club in Green Bay. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, a lot of hearsay all over the place right now with Rodgers. And, as far as everything is concerned right now, Rodgers has never said he's not going back to the Packers.
No.
He's never said that. When asked straight up about the situation, he said, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll let you know in a couple weeks.
That's all it's been, and it's kind of annoying. But
so,
it's okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately for us in fantasy, it does leave a whole lot of questions up in the air because this is a tremendous team. And with Rodgers, it is very much a different team than without Rodgers.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at with Rodgers, you're, looking at Aaron Jones in the first round as a first-round running back. You're looking at, Devontae Adams as a first-round wide receiver as well. But if Rodgers isn't there, if it is the era of Love or Bortles by chance, why bring in Blake Bortles? I believe he's an insurance policy just in case Love doesn't do it, because you don't
possible.
spend a first round draft pick on somebody like Love
Yeah.
to have him sit on the bench
I agree.
behind Blake Bortles.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited just to see what happens next week. Will Rogers show up? I don't know. Jordan Love, he had all the reps in the mini camp earlier this all season, and he had some great days and some not so great days. So it was kind of a mixed bag. We have a preseason this time, right?
Yeah, we'll have a 3-game preseason this week that starts in officially 16 days.
Dang. Yeah, no,
Preseason starts in 16 days. Training camps are already starting right now.
Packers need preseason to start, so then we can, if Rodgers ain't there, then we're going to need to see Love and Bortles kind of play and see what they can do.
Absolutely.
It'll make me definitely want to watch the preseason for the first time in ever, because normally it's just some no-name quarterbacks that we pick up, but this time around, I haven't even seen Jordan Love play in an actual game since we drafted him yet, because we didn't have a preseason last year.
Yep. So, Jordan Love has yet to really see an NFL field besides maybe a couple snaps here and there at the end of games last year.
Not even that. He wasn't even the backup.
It wasn't. Okay, no. Jordan Love has not seen an NFL field at all, so we'll see what happens and what sort of pounding he takes this year. But regardless of whether or not it's Rodgers or Love, I still think Jones is at least top 2 round running back, and same with Devontae Adams, because the talent is absolutely there with these guys.
No, the offense has been designed in a way with Coach Matt LaFleur where it's not necessarily dependent on the quarterback to make it run. You could put in some other quarterback in that slot, and you could still have a lot of the same successes as they did before. They do a lot of options, a lot of run plays, a lot of motion. It's all dependent on the scheme of the offense, and I think we will still be okay with Love. But when I say okay, I don't necessarily mean playoffs even, but I mean
You're trying to replace a Hall of Fame quarterback with somebody that hasn't seen a blade of grass in a year and a half.
Someone that's a baby still, too. Yeah.
So, it's tough there for them in that situation. But, a lot of people are speculating that come day one of training camp, Rodgers is just going to walk in the front door just like, hey, guys, never said I wasn't going to be here. I just said I was annoyed at the situation, and he has every right to be annoyed at the situation going on right now. From what's going on with management and that team, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of issues, and honestly, I think at this point, Rodgers just kind of wants to do the Brady thing, go down to a team that's on the beach somewhere, and ride out his days, getting drunk after games on the beach.
I would love that.
So,
but anyway, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. This team does have a lot of really good talent, though. Tight end position, Robert Tonyan, I think, is a tremendous
he had a breakout year.
He had a great year last year. It's a shame that he never got into the Pro Bowl last year when Evan Ingram did. When I want to say Tonyan had 12 touchdowns to, Evan Ingram's 4. I'm sorry, fans, you screwed the pooch on that one. As a Giants fan, Evan Ingram should not have been in the Pro Bowl last year. It should have been Robert Tonyan instead. Besides that, MVS, again, the Lizard King. What's his name? What's his first name?
Adam.
Yeah, Lazard. And then they drafted a wide receiver in the first round this year, or in the third round, named Amari Rodgers. Yeah. So we can get some. I'm kind of sad that they don't still have Richard Rodgers there, because then it could have been Rodgers to Rodgers or Rodgers to Rodgers. Or
no, that's too much.
But I think that's it with the Packers. The only real guys that you really got to pay attention to on this team is what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, and then based off that situation, you're looking at Jones, Tonyan, and Adams. Mm-hmm. Those are really what you want to draft as far as, from this team.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as the Bears go, they didn't do too terribly much this offseason. They worked on their D. They did a couple things here and there.
Yeah.
But they really haven't done anything special necessarily.
Except for quarterback.
Yeah, they did go ahead and trade with my Giants to go down to the number 11th spot in the NFL draft this year and draft Justin Fields.
Yeah.
A little bit of a wild card, people will say. He's hit or miss. He can be good, he can be bad. Do you think he starts this season?
They have 3 starting caliber quarterbacks right now, which is interesting. Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields. The coaching staff for the Bears have kind of made it clear already that Justin Fields is not going to start. It's going to be Andy Dalton. We'll see if they stick to that game plan. But
how long before they are
you already know
0-3 before Justin Fields comes in?
Yeah, you can already predict the future. They go 0-2, 0-3, and then Justin Fields comes in. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
It's just weird that they have Nick Foles is hanging out there still.
Yeah. And they gave him a huge contract to come there too.
Yeah,
they really are just eating money there when it comes to that guy. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to a competition to start the year out between Foles and Dalton, hoping that maybe Foles can show what he won the Super Bowl with.
Yeah.
But I think before Game 5, Justin Fields is the starter in Chicago.
Yeah, I would probably concur with that as well.
Yeah.
I think he does have a lot of talent. I do like him. I'm a little nervous as a Packer fan just to see what he can do. Mm-hmm. I would prefer Andy Dalton starts.
Oh, yeah, of course, man. As a Giants fan last year, I was so happy when Andy Dalton started for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But no, as far as this year goes, I'm sure as a Packers fan, you want Foles or Dalton back there, especially Dalton, because he is definitely seen as the weaker link of those 3 quarterbacks. But yeah, I personally see with it before Week 5, Justin Fields will be the starter there.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as running backs go, Montgomery is the only real running back that you want to look at. Tariq Cohen, he's already gimpy, they're saying.
He gets a lot of catches as a pass catch. He gets a lot of screens and stuff in the backfield.
Yeah, Montgomery started coming on strong at the end of last year, man. Last year,
he did. He did
last 5 games of the season last year, he was like the RB3.
Yeah, no, he was. I like him. He's not bad.
Montgomery did tremendous last year to finish out the season, and I personally think a lot of people aren't drafting him until like the 4th or 5th round this year, which I think is a crying shame. I think Montgomery is worth a 2nd or a 3rd round draft pick. I wouldn't go as far as like a 1st or a.
I would not.
End of the 2nd round, if you're looking like you got nothing really going on there, I would probably look at Montgomery there.
Agreed. They don't have that much depth. I mean, Tariq Cohen, he's okay, but
he's not. As I said, he's already hurt. He's already hobbling around training camp apparently.
Yeah.
So,
I don't see them splitting the carries like 50-50 or anything
No,
like that.
absolutely not. This is Montgomery's team, and Cohen's going to go in there as a Montgomery needs a breather for a play, and then that's it.
Yep.
Tight ends, you still want to, I think, look at Jimmy Graham. I think he's a viable option as far as tight ends go. Jake Butt, not so much. He might be the butt of some jokes this year. But Jimmy Graham, I think, is still viable technically. He was the number 11th tight end last year, the number 11 tight end. So in a league of 12 players, he's definitely a viable option there. Mm-hmm. But really, that's about it. Allen Robinson is the only real option as far as wide receivers go. I would have, touted Anthony Miller in the past, but he was a huge bust last year.
Marquise Goodwin?
They do have Marquise Goodwin now. I see a little bit of potential there for him. He will be the number 2 guy, but end of the season, I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like a 700-800 yard year for Marquise Goodwin and Anthony Miller.
I agree.
Both will probably have roughly about the same touchdowns. So I'm sorry, I'm not looking at drafting a Marquise Goodwin when I could probably pick up Anthony Miller off the waiver wire, and end of the year they're probably going to be roughly the same.
Yeah.
So my personal thought on that. But that's really it for the Bears. Not much going on with the Bears. Only like two guys that I think are viable fantasy options besides the defense. And the defense they did do a little bit of work with last year. Not great last year, but they did do a little bit of work this year. But two viable options to draft from the Bears. And that's Robinson and Montgomery. Watch for Fields in the future. He could have a Herbert type year.
He could.
Like last year from the Chargers. So moving on from them, getting into the Vikings now. They really tried to work on their safety and cornerback position. They had just a piss poor defense last year, which is very uncharacteristic.
It is uncharacteristic.
They did have one of their young up-and-coming star D linemen go down with a torn ACL or Achilles last year, very early in the season, if he played at all. He should be healthy and back. I forget his name offhand, but basically the dude's had almost 30 sacks his two previous years, coming out as a rookie and then a second-year player. He's had almost 30 sacks in his previous 2 years, out last year injured. We'll see what sort of difference he can make this year for that defense. But then on the offensive side of the ball, Kirk Cousins, he was good last year. He was efficient. He was a quarterback one for a 12-team league. So he was definitely a good call. They did go out and draft Kellen Mond in the third round, second pick, which was technically their second overall draft pick this year. So I don't know. Do you see a future here going on with Kellen Mond?
I don't know who he is, really.
Yeah, I haven't really heard too much about him either. He's a third round draft pick, so I don't foresee him doing terribly much this year, if ever.
I mean, third round is still decently high, so I mean, it's one of those where
you could play.
He
could have a good career, but it's an uphill battle. Definitely is.
Yeah.
What's not an uphill battle, though, is this running back position. They got three killer running backs here. Obviously, Dalvin Cook being number one. Killed it last year. Top 3 running back, I want to say.
Yeah, no, he lit it up for fantasy.
Yeah, he was the number 3 running back last year, Dalvin Cook. Plus, they went out and got Amir Abdullah from Detroit.
Yep.
And, they have Alexander Mattinson still. So he did really well last year when Cook was down. Not the greatest, nothing to really write home about. Would I draft Mattinson?
No.
I don't know. Probably not. He's probably going to be the number 3 guy behind Amir Abdullah and obviously Dalvin Cook. Would I draft Amir Abdullah late round as a handcuff to Cook, though, just in case for injury's sake, because he is a very physical runner? Probably. If I were to end up with Dalvin Cook, I would probably look at Amir Abdullah come, the very late rounds.
Maybe.
But I don't know. Dalvin Cook, he's a solid running back, plays like 12 to 13 games a year.
Yeah.
But there is always that injury that he will sustain.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, he does usually get hurt every year for a couple games at least. But no, he's a stellar guy. He did really well last year for fantasy. Definitely will look to get him again if the situation arises.
Yeah, especially being like the number 3 running back at the end of the day when he missed 3 games last year. So, Dalvin Cook is an absolute beast. Highly recommended as far as drafting. He could potentially, I think, be the number 1 running back this year. If he were to stay healthy, Dalvin Cook can absolutely be the number 1 guy.
I believe it.
He's projected to be the number 2 guy this year, obviously, behind, I want to say, Christian McCaffrey or something. But, yeah, Cook is the way to go. Tight ends, though, I wouldn't draft either of them. Irv Smith and Zach Davidson.
Wasn't Irv Smith a high draft pick last year?
I have no idea. I thought he's been around for a little while. See, this is why we need a producer, so that the producer right now could be going to his little computer thingy, be like, oh yeah, Irv Smith was drafted last year in the blah, 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 blah. But no, none of y'all want to help.
Okay.
But yes, Irv Smith, he was drafted at some point.
I thought he was a high draft pick, but anyway.
Don't know if I would necessarily take him myself when looking at his stats from previous years. Last year is the number 22 ranked tight end. This year he's only projected for number 15.
So he's moving up.
Moving up, but not anybody that I would want to draft.
Fine.
It's all yours.
Draft you either.
Good. I am a terrible player. I am way too broken. So, yeah. Have fun drafting me, Irv Smith. Dick. Two very viable candidates at wide receiver, though. Justin Jefferson, who killed it last year, set so many rookie wide receiver records last year. Absolutely killed it. You see a sophomore slump going on for him, though?
I would still draft him. I don't know.
I'd draft him high. Second-round draft pick, absolutely. Same with Thielen, man. I would probably take Thielen in a third or fourth round draft pick.
Down of a year, I think.
It was a little down. Let's see. Thielen was 11. He was number 11, so he was still a wide receiver one last year. Justin Jefferson was number 6. So you have two killer wide receivers on this team, where hopefully they're just getting better.
Sure.
But at the same time, they had to throw so much last year just to try and stay in games because that defense was so piss poor.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little bit of a regression. I don't see Jefferson really being that top guy again, a number 5 or 6 wide receiver.
I don't know.
But I still think he's a top 10 guy.
He's dang good. I would definitely draft him and then also Thielen if I had the opportunity. I mean, Thielen, he's just so reliable. He had some injuries, I think recently, but when he's playing, he gets those catches.
Absolutely. Catches. He's great at contested balls as well. So I think Thielen, both these guys are tremendous adds to your team. If you can get them, absolutely do. Moving on from this team, though, to the worst team in the division, we got the Detroit Lions. Now, a lot of people are hoping that they're going to be better, but I personally don't see how they could get better. Stafford was a decent quarterback, had a great arm. They traded for Jared Goff, though.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting decision. I think Stafford's still better than Goff, but
Goff is younger.
Goff is younger. He has potential still, absolutely. I guess. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're going to do amazing, but I also don't think they're going to do necessarily crappy.
Yeah.
I also noticed that they picked up a couple Packers this offseason. Good for them.
They brought in Jamal Williams as a backup running back, which is great because DeAndre Swift was – he was killer at the end of the year last year. They lost Amir Abdullah, which, there was a couple of they lost Kerryon Johnson too. There was 3 or 4 running backs behind Swift or with Swift that were all taking rushes away from Swift. Once they started going down, once they started getting hurt, Swift was killer last year. Absolutely loved him, had him on my team, and crushed the end of the season with him. He was phenomenal. Now that he's just got Jamal Williams there as his backup guy, a guy to come in as a change of pace guy every once in a while, but Swift is now the guy. And I'm so happy for that. He's a tremendous talent that should take a huge step forward this year.
They did pay Jamal Williams, I think, a little bit. I mean, the Packers didn't bring him back, obviously, so they must have offered him I think it was only $3 million a year or something. It's not crazy, but
it's good money for a running back that is probably going to be the second guy.
Yep.
I mean, when you think about it, when you look at the longevity of a running back in the NFL, you might as well make whatever money you can, as much money as you possibly can, even if it's for sitting on the bench somewhere and just being a backup guy.
Definitely.
Because, come 3 years from now, I doubt Jamal Williams is even in the league.
Wow. That's rude.
Yeah, well, it's called the not for long for many reasons.
Yeah.
So, but getting back, quarterback, Goff, I'd say draft him. I'd say he is definitely a later round draft pick.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have Galladay anymore. He doesn't have Marvin Jones anymore.
He doesn't have any receivers.
You don't really have any receivers there now. You got Brashad Perriman coming over from the Jets, which who cares?
Yeah.
You got Geronimo Allison coming over from the Packers, which who cares? And then somebody with like one of my favorite names now, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Drafted in the 4th round, pick 7. Once again, though, I don't see him contributing a Justin Jefferson type level or anything like that.
I'm definitely not going to draft Goff at any point. Definitely don't trust that lineup. Even if Stafford was back there, I mean, he doesn't have any receivers.
No, absolutely not.
T.J. Hawkinson at tight end.
I think he's a dark horse.
He was drafted at like pick 5 a few years ago, and I think he's had some injuries. I know he's had some moments of looking like a good tight end, but then he doesn't really follow through with that
bits
in
and
the coming
pieces
weeks.
Where he shined. Yeah.
I've always drafted him in fantasy, like hoping he's going to have a breakout year, and he hasn't really yet, but I might do it again just because that's how persistent I am.
Now, last year, Hawkinson was the number 5 guy, and this year he is projected for number 4. So I think this could be a breakout year for Hawkinson. I think because Goff doesn't have any wide receivers, it's really your only option. You're going to throw the ball to Swift or Williams, and then you're going to throw the ball to Hawkinson because he is a huge man. Just like absolutely tremendous. And yeah, I think he is a matchup problem for most safeties and slot cornerbacks in the league, whoever would be on him. He's also a matchup nightmare for any sort of linebacker that wants to try and cover him because he's that, quick.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think this year could be a huge year for Hawkinson. I think it's going to be a breakout year for him, and I would draft him. I would draft him up where, in the probably 5th or 6th round area personally.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's what he's basically going for in ADPs right now. So, yeah. If Hawkinson were to fall to me in like the 7th round, I would absolutely scoop him up in a heartbeat, maybe even the 6th round, because he has that ability. No, he's not going to be Kelsey, because at the end of the day, who's going to match Kelsey bringing in 312 points as a tight end?
Yeah, seriously.
No, nobody can.
No.
The guy from the Raiders gets close.
Not
Waller. He brought in 282 points last year.
He's good.
But yeah, the next guy under them was like in the 170s. So yeah, I'd still say Hawkinson is a very viable option. Grab him if you can. I'd say grab him sooner than later. So that is our team wrap-ups, or our team previews for each of these teams going forward. A lot of options in this division. A lot of decent wide receiver options at this division and running back options. Every team has a good running back option in this division that I would be happy drafting really any of them.
Yeah, I agree too.
So these are all assuming that a couple people play this year. Obviously, Rodgers he was the number 5 quarterback last year, projected to be number 4. Cousins was number 11 last year, projected to be number 12, taking a slight step back. Goff is projected for 21 after being 17 last year, and I think that's pretty accurate. I think he's going to take a step back this year.
I agree.
And it sucks, too, because Goff is one of those guys that I have absolutely loved in previous years, and I have drafted that guy in previous years, but now he's let me down the past couple years, so I probably will not be drafting him personally. Dalton was 28th last year. Foles was 32nd last year. Dalton is projected as the starter right now for the Bears at 25. Foles is really projected for poop. So who knows what's going to happen there, but they're not saying that he's going to be the starter at all, and he's going to get like 10 points this year, period.
Yeah.
So, and then Justin Fields is a rookie and kind of unranked. As far as running backs go, tremendous division, as we said. Cook was number 3 last year. Jones was number 6. Swift was number 19. Montgomery was number 4.
Yeah, it's very quality running backs.
Yeah, and as far as projections go this year for those 4 top guys, Jones is projected to be number 4. Montgomery's projected to be number 10. Cook is projected to be number 2, and Swift is projected for 7. I guess if you're the only option on the team.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of top running backs in the division.
Absolutely. A couple of these other guys I probably would not recommend drafting, except for maybe Jamal Williams, just because he shined last year at a couple points when Rodgers was out.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens with Swift. It all depends on how healthy Swift can remain, because he had an injury problem last year too. Mm-hmm. As long as we don't get an injury problem this year where week 2, half the league tears their ACLs, I will be okay with that.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because last year that was terrible. That happened to 10, 11 people in week 2. It was terrible. So hopefully this year with preseason that won't happen, and these guys can remain healthier longer. Tight ends go in this division, really only 3 that you need to pay attention to: Tunyon, Graham, and Hawkinson. They're saying Irv Smith a little bit because they're projecting him to be number 15 overall, but Tunyon is projected to be number 11. I don't find that accurate. I don't think he'll be as good as number 4 again, but I can see him getting up to between 5 and 10.
It all also depends on who the quarterback is.
I think it helps him more if it's Love, honestly.
It could, because he's a safety blanket. That's kind of what the tight ends are.
If you got a good tight end, he is a great safety blanket for an unconfident quarterback. Inconfident? Confidentless? Whatever. But these are the guys that you really need to be paying attention to. Hawkinson, obviously, being the standout tight end of this division. They're projecting him for number 4 this year. But yeah, Tunyon and Hawkinson, I would be happy drafting either of them, really. They're both tremendous players, and they're both going to be great this year. As far as wide receivers go, Adams, number 1 last year, number 1 projected this year. I think that could change if Rodgers is not there, but if he is there, absolutely, why the hell not? Adams is a beast.
Otherwise, there's not that many receivers in this division besides for Adams, but
Robinson and Jefferson, and Thielen.
Yeah.
Those are really the only other guys that I would pay attention to. I wouldn't draft MVS again.
No.
I wouldn't draft Anthony Lazard. I sure as hell would not take Anthony Miller or Rashad Perriman, any of them really.
No.
Yeah, they're projected to be, between 50 and 70. But you're going to be happy drafting a 65th ranked wide receiver in the 10th round?
No. Yeah.
Even in the 13th round, I ain't going to be happy with that. That's bullshit. So, now Adams, number 1 last year, number 1 this year. Justin Jefferson, number 6 last year, projected to be number 5 this year. Allen Robinson, number 9 last year, projected for 14 this year. And that's really about it. Yes, somebody could step up. Amon-Ra could, shine through. But not a grouping of wide receivers I would really feel comfortable drafting, except for Devontae Adams in the first round.
Yeah. No, I agree.
If no other options, at least.
Just Adams or the Viking receivers, Jefferson, Thielen.
But even then, I would not feel comfortable drafting them in the first or second round. Maybe back end of the second round for Jefferson.
I agree.
3rd round, yes, absolutely for Jefferson. 5th round for Thielen, I would go personally. Even though, number 11 last year, projected to be number 24 overall this year. That's how I personally see it.
The Packers are projected number 2?
Yep, number 2 overall ranked defense.
Where did that come from?
I'm sure somebody's ass. Somebody just pulled it right out, planted it on the table, and said, yeah, why not?
We drafted a corner in the first round, which is great, but it's not like we did anything else super crazy on defense. We
You guys getting back any injuries or anything like that?
I mean, we have good pass rushers. Our defensive backs, we brought back Kevin King, which I'm not sure why we did after he messed up in the playoffs and Tampa Bay went to the Super Bowl. But we'll see. I don't know. I'll take it. I don't know. I'll draft it.
I don't think they're going to be the number 2 defense, but hey, whatever floats your boat. Last year they were number 17, Bears were number 19, Vikings were 27, and Lions were 32nd. They're not projected to do much better this year, even though they did put a lot of draft capital into their defense. The Lions are probably going to be one of those piss-poor teams in the league this year.
Yeah.
31st projected defense. And, yeah, man, a funny little stat. Last year, I want to say the total points that the Lions defense got was only like 21 points. Throughout the entire fantasy football season, they only ended up amassing a total of 21 points.
They probably had a lot of games where they lost points for the team. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
not good.
So, will you ever pick up the Lions defense? Let me answer that for you. Fuck no.
Whoa, no, I will not. No.
We're at the end of the video. Nobody's paying attention anymore, and nobody watches this except for me. I see you, Garrett. Sexy bastard. Yeah. Bears defense protected for number 8 this year. They were number 19 last year. Kind of an off year for them.
The Bears usually have a better defense than us for sure. They're usually pretty up there. And then the Vikings projected number 30, which is kind of crazy to me. You know, they are normally like a decent defense, but 27 last year, yeah, that's pretty abnormal for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't have a great season last year, but, you know, we'll see what happens this year. They did put a lot of draft capital. They did bring in a bunch of guys to help with their defense. So
I would be shocked if the Packers are actually going to have the best defense in the division this year. That never happens. We're not known for our defense.
You were at one point back in the days of Clay Matthews and shit like that.
Back in the day.
Clay Matthews, B.J. Raji, and all of them. And
yeah, that was a very short-lived fun.
Yeah, that was a tremendous couple of years for them.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. So, I think that's it for this week's episode. Before you go on vacation, you're heading out to Illinois.
Don't say that.
What? Bringing the noise to Illinois?
Illinois. There is no S. Or there is an S, you just don't pronounce it. But, yes, I'm going home.
Isn't there 2?
There's 1.
Okay.
I'm going home to Illinois, and be back next Wednesday. I'll be back next Tuesday afternoon, but working the following Wednesday.
Back at work next Wednesday.
Yep, and just looking to take a break for a week and catch up with the family and friends and take a break from AVI for a bit.
Trying to get the mind right.
Yes.
Totally get it.
Yes.
Before the ass whooping that I lay on you this year in fantasy football.
I mean, considering Dave is not in the league anymore, that's just less competition.
Dave and Laura. Of course, Laura wasn't terribly
last year she wasn't as successful, but anyway.
But, we'll see what happens this year. But, we're running with the 10-team league. Again, throw out ideas for how to pick the draft. Otherwise, it's going to go to commissioner choice.
Music. Shuffle.
I like the music shuffle idea. We'll see what happens. We can just hit randomizer, too, and just see what happens. Otherwise, whatever. Okay, guys. Well, let's call it a day. I think it's getting warm in here. You got lunch probably waiting for you.
Yeah, it's probably a cold burger now. But I'll heat it up.
Yep.
That's what the microwave is for. I can nuke it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my co-host with the most, Mr. Tony S. Burgess.
That stands for Super Bowl. J Love is taking us to the Super Bowl this year. Yeah, baby, let's go.
And my name, as always, is Mr. Garrett M. La Laguna. The M this week stands for malarkey. Don't give me none. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. We've been rusty. I haven't been doing that. Of course, it doesn't really matter because the only one that watches is already subscribed. Thanks, Garrett. Sexy beast. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you next week.